The salt air sticks to the window glass. I have the old ledger open on the table, searching for a name carved in the rock. Before the winter takes the trail away, it is more than just a list of dates. It is the way the wind hits the porch. I trace the branches through the ages by the ink marks on the census page. This is the road map we carry, the way back home, turning the seekers into the keepers. From the green glens to the gray coast, we are finding out how we got here. We are finding how we got here, finding out how we got here. They left the highlands with nothing but wool, crossed the dark water in a wooden hull, hard hands on the rigging in the gale, praying for the sight of the jagged cliffs to the red dirt of the island soil, where the Irish names took root and grew. You can feel them in your own hands when you hold the heavy faded ink. This is the road map we carry, the way back home, turning the seekers into the keepers. From the green glens to the gray coast, we are finding out how we got here. We are finding how we got here, finding out how we got here. The map is not just a piece of paper. It is the porch light left on for you by people you have never even met, bringing the ancestors back to the light. We do not let the fire go out. We do not let the memory go cold. Keep it burning. It is a line that stretches back to the very first step on the shore. This is the road map we carry, the way back home, turning the seekers into the keepers. From the great coast, we are finding how we got here, how we got here matters now, matters now.
Good day and welcome to the live stream. I'm Brian Nash from How We Got Here Genealogy. Thanks for joining us today. Okay, so as promised, today I'm going to talk about how sometimes in genealogy we get pulled off in what people call rabbit holes, and I'm actually going to talk about them in a positive way, because it is possible sometimes to spend a lot of hours following a rabbit hole. But sometimes if you're hitting a brick wall and you're stuck, you just need that distraction from by approaching something new and searching for something new. It will make it easier for you to get a sort of fresh frame of mind, and it can bring you back to attacking that brick wall with a new vigor and even new ideas of possibly how to approach something. And I'm going to go through today. I'm going to chase a rabbit hole that's been staring me in the face for a number of years. It's just one I have a lot of questions about, and I never really chose to follow it and find out. So I'm just hoping everybody can hear me all right today. Yeah, it sounds like you can, I think. 1 second here. Yeah, perfect. Okay, everybody. So yeah, welcome. Like I said, welcome to the show. We're going to talk about a little bit about following those rabbit holes, and seeing them is not as seeing the distraction is not always negative. That it can be positive at times. So I'm just gonna I'm going to do a couple things here. Just give me 1 second here. Okay, just going to turn on. I'm going to see how this works. It's a plugin that blocks off some personal data, so I want to just see if that works for you guys. Let me see here. I'm not really going to do any DNA stuff, so okay. So I gotta get to my family tree here. And I have to say, so I'm going to share a little bit with you. I'm going to just talk a little bit about some things, and then I'm going to talk about a particular particular rabbit hole that, like I said, I've kind of wanted to pursue, but I've never taken up the chance. So, okay. So I see you watching there on Twitch, and you now at the show, if you have any questions, do drop them in the chat. I'll see your chat. The people watching on YouTube won't see the Twitch or Facebook chats, but and if you do have a question that might be a little longer, that you want some help with your family research, you can go to ask.howwegothere.ca and put your question there as a form you can fill out, or you can just ask it in the chat if it's something simple and straightforward. Okay, so I'm going to share a little bit of my family tree here. And I'm going to share the entire window for now, because I don't think I have anything else open on that window. Okay, perfect. Okay, so this is my family tree. I'm way down here. So I'm going to be looking at a particular rabbit hole from my grandfather here, Edmund Nash. I'm just going to show you a little bit of his profile so you know who he is. And I do have images. I don't actually have a lot of images loaded into Ancestry. Ancestry isn't the place where I do always a lot of my research and tree building. I like to do that on my local computer. But there are certain things that are here. He was born in 1916 on February. This discrepancy, whether it's 16th or 18th, and if I am correct, it was from the 17th, according to his birth records. Now, I'll show you where you get that. Well, let me do this here. So this here is just a if a friend of mine, well, I consider him a friend. We've never met, but an acquaintance, on online acquaintance that helps people with their YouTube channels. He's built this great little dashboard to use to view a few different things, help get ideas, and just help organize some things around your YouTube channel. If you have a YouTube channel yourself, I do recommend you go watch his stuff. His name's Nick Nimmin. So we're going to go to one of my favorite places to do this, because so much of my family is there in Nova Scotia. So we're going to look him up. And I'll show you a few of the records I actually have from here, just so you get an idea of who he was and what he did. and his county is Halifax. So it should have his birth and it should have his marriage here. Yep. So yeah, it's the 18th. Sorry, yeah, it is the 18th. So yeah, there he is. If I look at it, there's his birth registration, and we'll see that he was February 18th in 1916. His father's Frederick, his mother's Catherine Hartery. What's her maiden name? She was from Newfoundland. She was from it's I don't know why it slipped my mind here. I should know it. Anyways, she's from Newfoundland, and he was born at his house. And this is the name of the physician in attendance was Ella Larison. This is a neighbor, not a doctor. You'll notice a lot of them here just have Mrs. or because they not necessarily at this point everybody had a doctor. They, I don't know if they were midwives or just family, friends, relations that had been experiencing delivering children. So we have him here. Anyways, he was born in 1916, but it's his wedding record that I wanted us to go to next. This is where he married my grandmother, Alice, and we're just going to look to show you the date of when this happened. So this record is from May 23rd in 1940. So there she is. Her last name was Ryan, and Alice Gertrude is her names. And you'll see my grandfather, he is listed as, again, it gives his, oops. It gives his parents' names here, but he's listed as a pipe fitter. And there's his father, Frederick Thomas Nash. So the date, keep that in mind. He was a pipe fitter at the Halifax shipyards. And this was 1940 when he got married in May. He was 24 years old at the time. So I'm going to bring up a record here. And there we go. An interesting record of his that popped up today, actually, as a hint. I generally don't take a lot of the hints unless they're a good sourced hint or an actual, but this was actually a newspaper clipping about him in grade 4. And he was on the honor roll. But it is this document here that we're going to look at. This I'd seen on Family Search years ago. You see, the last time I had actually downloaded it was on March 12th last year, so almost a year to the day. Actually, it is a year exactly to the day. I didn't realize that when I was talking about this. So this is, he's from Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada, and this is entering the port of New York. So this would be through their customs, immigrations, whatever they called themselves at that time. And I'm actually going to bring it up in the this will let me zoom in a little better. So we're going to find him here. So this is what I want you to take a look at. This is one particular boat, the SS Fort Amherst. This was in January 10th, so in 1939. So he would not have been quite 23 at the time. He would have been 20, not quite 22, sorry. and he was on this ship. They were sailing from Halifax, and this is January 10th, the SS Fort Amherst. And this is what's getting me. Look at every name on there until you get to my grandfather. So you have Daniel and Gregory Ned, sorry, Edmund, Daniel Gregory Nash. And you see here, he's a fitter's helper. And this here is head tax status. This column for use of government official only. He was exempt from head tax. Everybody was admitted, even my grandfather. You'll see like this here. This gives me some information that confirms what he was doing there. But it gives there. So he has an exam order for the March 9th, 1935. He had, I'm not sure what that EX order is. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I find often in Canada, some of the newspaper hits aren't the greatest because they don't always have a lot of Canadian newspapers. But I noticed today that Ancestry and newspapers.com, and this is pretty good because I've been a little resistant ever wanting to sign up for it just because their lack of Canadian newspapers. But I noticed quite a few on there now, a lot more since the last time I explored. So it was 4 years from the time he got this to actually wound up going over. Almost 4 years, I guess. Less than like 2 months. Yeah. But if you notice, first of all, you notice with all the names, I'm not quite sure what my grandfather was doing on the ship where he seems to be the only non-Chinese person. So yeah, it's really gotten me to wonder. And I can't read this. I think it's just like U.S. citizen Chinese heritage is what they're saying. That's what I think it's saying there. Or is that U.S. citizen there as well? So it's just the race, nationality, claims USA, claims USA, claims USA. So these are all saying they're claiming USA, except for this guy or woman. She's a housewife, and she's saying, "Yep, she's from Chinese, from China. She's Chinese." And she's claiming that she's Chinese, not trying to make claim that she's a U.S. citizen. Yeah, my ancestor would be. Sorry. Yeah, my ancestor would be number 29. So 1 to 28 were delivered to Ellis Island. My grandfather didn't. And it was 8:20. It looks like I would definitely say in the AM. I'm not sure what this 80 means. And so that's their city or town birth. They have, looks like all these people are from, almost all of them from Tushan, China. There's a couple difference, but most of them are from there, except for my grandfather, of course. And it really gets me. Yeah, this was, I said already, this delivered to his gland, delivered to Ellis Island, the 1 to 28. So I assume they were going to do some more investigating, and it looks like after a while they confirmed they were U.S. citizens, or son of U.S. citizen, this one. So, but I'm left. I was always left to wonder what he was going to China, what he was going to New York for, and actually at his oldest son, my uncle, his funeral a couple years ago, I was talking to his oldest son, who's also named Edmund. I was talking to a couple of my other uncles, or one of my other uncles, and my aunt in particular, and I was asking if they ever knew why my grandfather would have went down to New York at the end of the 1930s. And this is what I thought based on this, and they kind of confirmed that this is probably what it is. He was going for, well, my family being Irish on that side of the family, who ordered that? They went to Ellis Island. Let's just see. This person here, whoever that is, I cannot make out the signature. So yeah, he being Irish, as people of Irish descent, or people in Ireland, and I think this is, through microevolutionary means, with low melanin in their skin and their blood. They're very pale people because they didn't need to be. They were, if you know a lot about Ireland, it's overcast and kind of dreary. It doesn't have a lot of sun, much like Scotland. In fact, I've heard it said about both Ireland and Scotland. Yes, they do have summer. Last year it was on a Wednesday. But because of that, we're very prone. Yeah, and that's what I'm going to try to look into. So, because I found out the reasoning he was there, and I knew he had a relative, because I know my father talked about when he was in, my father was in the Navy at one point, before he joined the Air Force, and he talked. I remember him when I was younger mentioning at some point he was at an aunt, whether it was an actual aunt or a great aunt, I wasn't sure, and I'm still not sure, because but he was there. He visited her in Brooklyn. So I assumed he was visiting his sister, or it might be my grandfather's actual aunt. That's why I assumed it. But then with this here, I looked at it, and I sort of my uncle and my aunt confirmed that, yeah, it probably was for medical treatment, because they remember hearing them talk about him going for medical treatment. So this was probably the time. And I'm one, you see, it says he's in hospital and he's discharged. So he was going for medical treatment for the melanoma, and it's very prominent in my father, and I think all his brothers have all developed at some point some type of minor skin cancer. And it's something I'm very conscientious of myself. Anytime I seem like I have a weird skin growth, I always want to get looked at because it is an issue with in my family genetically, and he was just there getting treatment. So that rabbit hole of sort of why he was there, it left me, but it kind of got answered and confirmed. I might be able to find some more details about his trip, but Lana, you're right. I wanted to find out, like, what the heck is he doing with all these Chinese people that were all in Halifax for some reason, and they all were going to New York on this particular boat in January of 1939. So I really want to try to find out about them. So I'm thinking the best thing is to go back to Family Search, and I don't remember. I haven't looked at this on Family Search in a year, and it was a year ago. I just downloaded this because I had seen it years before, and it was sort of always just question, but it wasn't really. It wasn't going to contribute anything to his genealogical record, so to speak, at the time. So I wasn't as interested in finding out the story behind it. It was just a curiosity, and it was a distraction. It was one of those rabbit holes I'm talking about that you could go down a long while to try to find why he was there, what was going on. And I'm pretty satisfied to that it was correct what I sort of supposed from the little bit of notes that are on there, and what had been confirmed by my uncle and my aunt. And so I don't need to look into it. He didn't stay there because obviously he was back the next year getting married. And this was 1939. He retired as a pipe fitter in the late 80s, might be actually early 90s even, because he didn't retire until he was 73, I think it was. He retired a couple times, and they kept calling him back. Because at this point, he'd been a supervisor, and I think the first time they hadn't hired his replacement, so they hired him back on a term, and then they hired him. He retired again, but they needed to actually train the person, so they called him back. And I think third time the person had left, so he wound up retiring and going back. I think it was 3 times. So it was about 73 when he actually finally stopped working in the shipyards as a pipe fitter, but this time as supervisor, and in management, more in the office. But that was 50 some odd years later. 50 years later, pretty much. So it was, around, I know he was still working when I started university in 88, and I knew it was shortly after he retired. So I'm really trying to figure out what these people were doing in Halifax and how they got to Halifax, what they were going there for, and what brought them to New York, especially if they were already U.S. citizens. And so I'm going to go back to the Family Search and see if there's any documents on anybody in here, if there's any kind of documentation on them in that record. You notice most of them are quite young. There's a few in the 30s, but most of them seem like they're teenagers. There's even 2 6-year-olds. I'm assuming these might be twins. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say, but let's see what we can find. So I'm just going to bring up family search. Bring it up on my other page. Just 1 second. Then I'll bring it over. And we're going to search records. Okay. So I'm going to bring back the PDFs because it give me some details that's there. So it's particularly this document here. So it has everybody there, but let's see if there's actually any record listed on them for them. And I'm going to take a quick look. Okay, there's a few other pages there too, which again, so this is from immigrant inspectors. The surgeon of Fort Amherst. Let's see here. So there's Fort Amherst from St. John's, Newfoundland on January 6th, so 4 days before. So it was making quite a few trips back and forth. 13th day. So that's the day they must have been picked up in Newfoundland, and the 10th must have been in Halifax. Okay. Arriving in New York, January 13th. Sworn before me the 13th. Yeah, so this is the day they left. So they left from St. John on the 8th. Sorry, not the 6th. I misread that. So we have this person here. Who are they, actually? Cassandra Vincent. So where are their naturalization papers? And so this is just more records of the same people. This is, again, his. So there's his aunt's name that he was visiting in New York. His Aunt Christine. And he came from Canada via New York. And this here is whom it was passage paid. He paid for himself. And so how much did he pay to get? He paid, it doesn't say what he paid. It tells what everybody else paid. They paid $10 and some of them paid $5. I'm assuming that must be a difference depending on their age. That's whether alien intended to stay or whatever, he's going to be up there. It's up to 6 months, he said. Still doesn't tell us where these people, the Chinese people went. So he's 6 month bond. I don't know it now. Canada, the US, you can go without a visa for up to 6 months. So I'm assuming it's something similar, but it looks like you had to have a bond. Somebody basically signed for him. So he's medium build with medium complexion with brown hair and blue eyes. I never saw him in my life that I can remember with brown hair. I always remember him being grayish white, though I kind of remember a little when he was younger, and I'd confirmed this by seeing photos of him at that time when I was quite young, where it looked like he might have, with his gray and white hair, had the some part that was still dark. I thought were kind of more reddish than I would say brown. So no distinguishing marks, and it's this here is his health condition, deformed, crippled nature, length of time and cause, nothing there. So these people weren't there for going for medical treatment, anything, but neither was he listed there. And so this is their just the instructions that come with it for the person filling it out, and list of races of people. I find this very interesting because often I'm told people they're not Scotch. Scotch is a drink, but moreover, you see in records in early 20th century, late 19th century, that people referred to themselves and were commonly referred to as Scots. Scotch, not Scot, and not Scottish. Herzegovinian. I thought Bosnia Herzegovina. I know it came out of the Yugoslavia. I didn't realize it was there. What's Spanish? Spanish American. Okay. So this would be the crew. So this is their crew. I believe are they head tax? No, this is more people. This is more people on that passenger list. They were sailing from St. John's and they left on the 8th. So this people on the same ship. It looks like again they left on the 8th along with that other person. And there's the same thing. Who they staying with, basically, or where they're staying when they're here. So let's go back to here, and we're going to look at these people, these Chinese people, which I'm really not sure where they're from. And I'm just curious if any of these here actually anybody has them on Ancestry as or family search as part of their family. There's not an easy way to tell here. So they're students, and I think they're almost all students. There was a farmer, a housewife, another farmer, a student, and none. This is the Howu. And their gender, sex, and whether they're married or not. I'm just curious, though. There was one here that said they were somebody's mother in the document that I looked at here, because like I said, this looks a little different. You see there's some notes on this one as opposed to when I look here. It doesn't seem like it has necessarily all the same notes. Because this one here, Mrs. Chinry, oh, maybe it is the same note, look different. No, it's the same. Okay. It just, for some reason, it looked different to me. Okay. So to try to figure out why these guys were coming, they all got on in Halifax and on a boat that left from Newfoundland originally. And yeah, you'll see this one here. Oh, it does say it's attached. It doesn't. From 1921 to 1991. Okay. Let's see what we can find. Because it's the only person that has anything on here. So as there other records, there's only one source. So source, okay. Well, let's take a look and see what this says. So he was born in Taiwan, so he's Chinese. His residence is in Flushing in Queens, New York. His death date is there. And he's a social program correspondent. That's the type of record. So let's see if we can see the record here. Copy citation. It's 1947. He was applying for a social program application. Oops. And that's the only thing. It doesn't have any relatives or anything else. How does it know if he died on June 8th? Let's view his tree. So it just has his parents. So nothing more about him than his parents. So it still doesn't tell me. So this was Sepoy Chin and Sepoy Chin. Let's go back here. Is there a second page to those lines? Yes, there was this page here, which goes over. So Sepoy Chin, if this is who they think was 4 up from my grandfather. So there we go. So he's number 25. So his wife is okay. So he was 18 in being born in 1921. And it says his wife is this who he's The address of nearest relatives, yeah. So he's 25. So his wife is still in Taishan, China, and his father paid $10 for him. And what did he say he was? Was he a student? Yes, he's a student. So he was a student. Okay. So he's the parents of YY Chin. Was it on the second page what gave their parents? There was something in here over on this page that gave his father's name. As you can see, I don't deal with U.S. records a lot, at least this particular type of record, because I don't do a lot of U.S. immigration research. But I did see his father's name on one of these records somewhere. So where do we find this? Even full age, married, calling, or occupation, able to. So it must be on this page where it mentioned him. I did see it mention his father. There it is, right there. So this, yeah, the nearest living relative. So he gives his wife not his father's name, unfortunately. So even can I find out in this YY Chin what Yun Shin? Does she have any relatives? Just see Poi Chin. So somebody's got to be related to this guy. Sources. It's just from this that it's getting the information. Again, there's no visual. I wish there was something I could see, not necessarily. Well, I guess be able to read it because he would have filled it out in the States, so it would be all in English. See Boychin. There's a Find a Grave index with him. Well, let's just view him on Find a Grave. So, what does it tell me here? Date listed may be internment date. Okay. And as you can see, I'm not going to be able to read it. Doesn't have anybody else he's related to here. Just that one photo. So I thought this rabbit hole is going to be, it's not going to be one I'm going to find an answer to easily, and it's not what I expected to, and it's really just one of those rabbit holes that, you know, it gives you something interesting. So we have Social Security death notice. So this is his death notice. Let's view the record and see. We have no image, so it tells us his birth date. And is there anything else in there? It doesn't tell us when he came to the United States, where he was born there, or whatnot. So we're not getting much farther with him. Okay, so let's go back to here. Is there anybody else? I didn't notice anybody else that had. Yeah, he's the only one that has anything linked. So how can I find out about him? Let's just actually see, what do we have? 15th of June, 1991. The passenger list. Is there anything else? View and source linker. Okay. There's no children, just the parents, and that would be listed there. Doesn't even list his wife, which the other one does seem to list. And I'm going to go to an often underlooked an often underlooked resource in genealogy, but not enough people don't take a look at. So Chin family history and historical records. Okay. Yeah. Do we want to pay for this to? So it just has that same record. I'm not going to pay to see something I can see for free on Family Search. So let's go to let's check out other places. I'm going to go to My Heritage. So 1 second, and we're going to check on My Heritage as well, and we're going to check on the Ancestry as well. Yeah, I don't use Discord too much, unfortunately. You can definitely follow me on here. I'm on TikTok as well. You can follow me on YouTube. So I'm going to look for him here. And then we're going to add his death. His death was, I'm going to say he was interned in June, and let's go to 1991, and it was in Queens. Okay. So let's see what they have. The family search one, that's the one we already have. The U.S. security, there we have the Ellis Island. We have U.S. Social Security application. So that one they did. Is there any? There's the New York passenger ship again. World War II enlistment. Okay. So this is 1907. So this isn't him. Peachin. See Peachin. That could be him. 1921 in China. Kings, New York, United States. I've never heard. So let's see if this has any more detail. Nothing there. Does give his father's name, his mother's name. So Flushing, New York. They have his death is June 8th. So they have his arrival is just that. So let's see. So this does not sound like the same person, because looking at where Sosi was born, $1915 arrival. Edmonton, Alberta, 1999. Lots of C chins, but only that one C poi. So this gives us date is September 4th. Interesting. And this is an interesting, more of just, like I said, an interesting rabbit hole. It's nothing to do with my family tree. But sometimes these rabbit holes are nice. They're distracting. When you get caught up in sometimes be in a brick wall, you just need those things that kind of distract you. Um, and I'm really not going to have an answer to this, but this is a rabbit hole I'll keep coming back to, because it's nice to come back to these things when you are finding when you're finding yourself stuck behind a brick wall. You're getting discouraged. You fought out every way to try to tackle finding a record, and you just to a person. Yeah, this is part of my ancestor story. All the Chinese people, it's part of their story. It's just interesting. There was other non-Chinese people on the ship that boarded from St. John's, Newfoundland. It looks like, so he wasn't the lone non-Chinese passenger. Uh, so he, but it is it is part of his story. I'd like to know sort of what what why. I mean, it might not affect him. He might not have had any interaction, but it's just more of a curiosity. Um, for instance, why were there so many of these Chinese people in Halifax at that time, going from Halifax to New York? A lot more students. Was there some type of um, a reason that would bring them there, whether it was regarding education or family? Um, yeah, there was no immigration of Chinese people in Nova Scotia. Um, um, yeah, I'm trying to find out if there was any significant event in Halifax that would have brought them there at the end of 1938, the beginning of 1939. Um, hmm. So there's nothing in a quick search can bring up. Um, okay. So the World War One, two hadn't broken out yet. Um, so yeah, there's nothing that I can find particularly. It is something that does want me to investigate further, to find out more. Where am I? I need to find myself here. There we go. So let's stop sharing here. So there we are, back to me. So yeah, it's sort of those distracting things in yeah. See, in 1939, in January, like I was trying to figure out what would have brought them there. I assumed if they were at the beginning of January, so maybe an event in the end of 1938, beginning of 1939. So the war hadn't started in 1939. In January, it wasn't until September that year. So it wasn't. I mean, there was the there was definitely the Japanese were invading all over Asia, and there would have been possibly some people from there. But these people seemed like, from that document, they were from the States. They were U.S. citizens, so they'd already been in the States for some time, and a lot of them seemed like they have family in the States. So, though still a lot of them said their closest relative was there. So I'm really just in China. I'm really just trying to. It's like I said, it's more of a curiosity. It's not something that's going to make or break my genealogy, but it's something to. Yeah, it could have, but see, at this point, if they would have arrived in BC, why wouldn't have they just came from through then Washington State or San Diego? Because the Chinese were not allowed any more. There were Chinese that were already here, but they were beginning to not let new Chinese people immigrate in Canada after 1921. And that didn't get revoked till the 1940s, I think, 50s maybe. So the Chinese Exclusion Act, when did that end? I know it started in 21, and it ended in Act started in 23. So and it was repealed in 1947 and it was due to the contribution of Chinese Canadians during World War II. So I thought it was 21 that started, but it was 23. So yeah, there's very few exceptions that Chinese people are allowed. Their students, diplomats, students, or children born in Canada. Other than that, they were barred from entering Canada. So, yeah, did they come from Europe, land in Halifax, and then get shipped right out? But it seemed that they had been in New York previously. From the little bit of that I can read and understand from their notes, Um, son of native U.S. So they all looks like they had things issued in New York, at most of them, one Hong Kong. Last permanent residence, they were all in China. So they were right from China. But they're all claiming they're U.S. citizens. Now, when was this noted? Was this noted at the same time? I mean, it looks very similar in the markings to most of it, except for these notes here by my grandfather, and these notes here. This was written at a different time, different pen. This was as well. So it was a medical hold because of the skin. So yeah, it really leaves me wanting to know why they're there. Is there anything here on nothing said there? It said who they were visiting. I think that was on the previous one. Who was it here? Or was it the next page? Yeah, no, it's the next page. Who they were going to be staying with? So they're all Catholics. That's interesting. Or all staying with Catholic minister. No, or is that father? Okay, no, that's their father. I thought that was all. I thought it said father somebody. And it says listening that they're their father. So their father lived in New York, mother, brother. So they were children coming to China from China, or spouses. This person paid $15. Wow, they got either they had a really nice room compared to everybody else, or they ripped off the father. Nadal says they're permanent residents, and definitely whether alien intends to become a citizen of the United States. It's saying that all of them saying it is. I think most of them. There's one no, and everyone else there is. Yeah, so it really leads me to wonder, were they maybe doing some type of protest in Halifax because of the Exclusion Act? Who knows? It'd be nice if we had one record about one person. We do have one record, but nothing, no actual family connected to them. Yeah, but you think if they would have landed in British Columbia, they would have just turned them back, or they would have sent them across the border in Washington, or there's plenty of places before Halifax that you would go to get to the States. Like that's the long way about would be going to Halifax first, and then from China. Though they're all last place of residence was all China's. None of them had that place of residence in the United States first. So were they students that had been gone back to China, and it's really would like to know what happened, why they're there. A lot of them have scars on their forehead, a big scar on the forehead, 2 moles in front of the neck, line scar front of the nose, mole between eyebrow, 2 moles between eyebrows, 3 pits on forehead, scar on right eye, and like it's really leaves me want to try to find out what the heck would they all doing in Halifax. So it's his father. See, now this one says his father was Yu Yen Chin. Was that who his father was listed as in here? So this is the same person. That would, yeah, Yu Yen Chin. That would be YY Chin, I think. So there's no children list here. Not, I'm assuming he probably had children. You never know. So one child, that's theirs. Okay, that's their one child. That's him. So the only records are pretty circular, and not a lot of information. And I honestly wouldn't have an inkling where to start in investigating in Chinese family history, like genealogy. What records are available? What records would you search if he was from Taiwan, which is now not part of China? Would those records be in Taiwan? Would they be like, you know, who could he possibly be related to that just doesn't know he's out here in family search because they've never searched for him. They've never set up their own family tree. So yeah, it leaves me with a lot of questions. So research help. Nothing there. Just tells me the CDs, records that we already know, we already looked at. And okay. So that's just the family search tree. There's no other tree here. All the stuff. And again, this doesn't seem to be him. Different person, different place. Because this seems consistently him when he applied for like his social security information, had him living in New York. I don't know what we can find out. So that's yeah, it could start in Hong Kong. Yeah. This is one of those things I'm just really really attempted to ask AI. I think there was 26 of them were claiming 20. So I basically asked, why would 27 U.S. citizens, majority being in their teens or younger, 26 are claimed to be U.S. citizens. So I should have asked what. So it was 28. Let's see if it comes up with any speculation better than. Does anybody know anybody who specializes in Chinese genealogy who would like to go down this rabbit hole with me? Yeah, but these men were all Chinese born. Hmm. Well, that's a good reason. You were right on Hong Kong. Oh, I'm reading this. I'm not sharing this wonderful page of the information I asked here. So it's basically saying that there's this thing they call the paper sun error, where people after the 1906 earthquake in San Francisco, many Chinese that were already there claimed that they were already U.S. citizens. So they'd go back to China and they would claim that they had children there, and they would basically saying put a space in their family tree that they would either for the real children, they were real children, or that they would sell those spots. And it's talking about the Sino-Chinese War, and how that created an urgency in the late 30s to get people evacuated, whether they were the real sons or people that were paying. There was a high demand for evacuation. And transatlantic route to Halifax as opposed to the Pacific because of the war. There was dangers, so they would go to the British colony of Hong Kong, and they boarded ships traveling westward across the Indian Ocean, pass through the Suez Canal to Europe, usually the UK, and then book passage on transatlantic ocean liners. These liners routinely made their first North American port of call in Halifax. So that is a really good reason. So I have the border crossing document. I wonder what's going to happen if I share it with them here. So if I share, let's get that second page too, because I don't have that second page in my document. I'm going to download that. So let's see what it will do with these two documents. And I bring those up here. I'm going to actually put that one in my documents here anyways. So I have yeah, and again, it's a rabbit hole that, it's just kind of fun to look at. And to me, that's what rabbit holes are. They can be positive things. So then, it's a long shot. It's going to analyze them. Okay, so let's see. Hello, NBA GOAT. First. So I asked is if there are any passenger lists that arrived in Halifax we can sometime before that we can compare names to. So I'm going to try to work this backwards, and I think that is a fairly good explanation. I'll have to do a little bit of investigation because AI is AI, where it's giving me some. Okay. Okay, so let's search on Ancestry. So let's go to Ancestry. And we're going to search. Okay, we're going to go to search all records. And what did it say I want to search? UK word passenger lists. Okay. What's the best way to tackle this? Actually, let's try this. Let's see if I can find it elsewhere. Let's. No. Okay. I'm looking for outgoing. So let's take one of those individuals. Well, let's take the one we already got some information on. Let's close some of these down. Sepoy Chin. Does it need to be exact? No. No. And oh, sorry, I went to the wrong page there. Oops. Yeah. The immigration records for coming to Canada. So these are all arrivals. I'm looking for arrivals in Halifax, though. They were leaving from England. And so I don't want to find the incoming, I guess that would help. I'm going to eventually have to find that. Soup. Well, let's just see. Of course, it wants me to get that the UK. Why don't I have that? I'm going to turn off my blurring. Because at this point, we're not. Okay, let's see what they have here. So let's look at all collections. And I'm going to and we're going to look. I want to look at all records. Of course, it has that. Okay. Europe. Kingdom. Okay, refine further. So they don't have immigration lists for England here. Okay, so that's going to be helpful. So what do they have? They have naturalization, 1890s. Yeah, I don't want 1890s. Where else can I search here? Okay, so let's check what we have here. I was hoping it would have a so there's Chings, but they're all departing 19. I'll leave it Halifax. Let's try one of the other names here. We'll just Ho Woo. Actually, let's search for last name NG. Yeah, just woods. Huh. Lee Wee Poi, Florence. Florence Lee Wee Poi. I don't want a subscription. Okay. I'm going to have to pass on this, and this is one rabbit hole I'm definitely still going to be down. Yeah, so this is one rabbit hole I'll still be down, looking at trying to find where they are and how they why are they in Halifax. And I do think that is the right reasoning. It makes sense. Affidavit. I wish they. So it looks like I don't know what that means. I did see at the top what those means. It was somewhere in here. I saw. It was at the bottom. Steve. So they're all affidavits. Oh, you're right. There's so many paths for this rabbit to go down. Okay, so yeah, there's so many paths that this could follow. And anybody have any idea or know of anybody would be able to direct me to a good place? But I think that's probably the way to go, is to follow this back. Most of these were sworn in New York. This one was Hong Kong. The rest are all New Yorks. So 2 were sworn in Hong Kong and the rest all in New York. Yeah, especially you're looking at the age of some of these here. So this person that is 24, 15, 37, they're a housewife. Like, I understand maybe somebody bring their wife over. So what number is she? She is number 14. So on that next sheet, what does it say about her? She's got to see her cousin. That's no, her husband paid for it. And Chinyet father, so there's her children. But most of these are father, one's husband, which then I'll have all the children as father. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Anyways, this is a rabbit hole. I'm not gonna. I definitely have to do some more research in. It was just something I was thinking as I've been talking to people. That often they get stressed doing their family research when they hit brick walls, and they get a little stressed, so they're just looking for a break. So this is a way to take a break and take your mind off something was still executing some of your skills as a genealogist to research. So I've been going on for a little bit, so I'm actually almost 2 hours here, so I'm gonna say goodbye and wish you all well. If you do have any questions, don't forget that you can always ask them by going to ask.howwegothere.ca. And you have a great day. And until next time, I'll see you then.
So that's the story, that's the ride. Thanks for coming right here by our side. We dug up the past, we found the